Welcome to Courageous Conversation with Teresa W. Gamble, powered by Carcia Resource Professional Consultant.
Hello and welcome everyone. This is your host Teresa W. Gamble. We are continuing the conversation with Adonnica L. Toler, Museum Administrator of the Ritz Theater and Museum in Jacksonville, Florida, about culture life. Let's listen in.
Why did I not know? Why do I don't know enough about Edward Waters, who the historical black college is named after? Even when I went to school there, they never talked about the founder and how the college got started. All I knew it was founded in 1866, and it's the oldest historical black college in the nation.
Florida.
That's all I knew until I started talking to some of the baby boomers and older alumni of the institution, which was the president, Nathaniel Glover, the first black sheriff. I spoke with him. He was an alumni. The Booster Club president I volunteered with, Mr. Carl R. Johnson. And working with him, that's how I was able to learn about the birth of Edward Waters College. So with all of that, when you start taking a deep dive in all these specific streets that are named after notable African American people, I know what it did for my husband. How does that make you feel when you resurrect history that people who've been born and raised here didn't have no clue about?
Yeah, it's really, I get really proud about that, excited, and I'm like, good. Now now your spark is there for you to realize that it's bigger, because I have people who say, "Oh, I do not like history. I've never liked history," but now you got me thinking. I'm gonna have to go start doing some research. And one of the things I always say is, whatever field you're in, there's a history in that field.
Yes.
And if you are going to be the trailblazer in that field, you need to know what was and what wasn't done. If you're going to cure cancer, I mean, you don't want a doctor that hadn't gone back and studied the past medical issues. You don't want you want a doctor who's well versed in that field. And then how are you going to bring the cure if you don't know what is already done? And maybe you can just tweak a few things, and that's what makes it better. And I said a lawyer always use precedents. They go back to the case that gives it the foundation to the case they're working on. I said, that's history. I said, so the perception of history is wrong. And I do love it. I love when people get excited about something. I didn't know that. I'm saying that all the time. No, I didn't know that was from here. Just like you, when you told me that about your husband, you was like, "Ooh,
He was
whatever."
He was because he asked me, said, "Teresa, did you know that?" I said, "No." I said, "I need it." So what I did, I picked up the phone and said, "I need to
You
call
called me. You sure
Adonnica."
did.
I could, because
Yep,
I
you sure
knew
did.
you, and I said that is her niche, that is her thing. I said, since we've been out of school, that's all I knew you were. I mean,
So, but that's what I am known for. Yeah. And
yes,
I had for that particular, and and it was one of my church members called, one of my church members on Facebook. I'm looking at the news, and look at who is on now, and look at her looking good. And then somebody told me, "Yeah, girl, she always look good." I said, "Yeah, talking about how good I look. Y'all ain't talking about what I said." But that was, but that all of that plays into that, because it's representation. I mean, let's face it, it's either we stealing something or we string out, and you hardly, they don't show us as much. And so it is, it's important. And I'm really am proud when people realize that. When someone says, "I wish I had a history teacher like that, I would have paid more attention. I
right.
would have," or I make a point and say, "Oh, this is a good point. Can I think this?" And
Right.
so and see, when people ask me, "How do you remember that stuff?" And I said, it's a gift from God. I said, I study, I promise you. I said, but when I hear a fact or hear something, and it's like my brain is like, okay, where does that fit in what I know? And it'll file away. Maybe I'll use it there, maybe I won't. And my tours are never the same. Except, you know, we have an animatronic exhibit of James Weller Johnson and his brother John Rosamond that you must come see. Now
Oh,
you're going to
yeah.
get that. You'll get that, but the rest of it seems like the tour is based on what the group is and what they draw out of me. That's all I can tell you, because I've given tours where I'm really encouraging the students to really get their work. Quit hanging on the corner. Get your education. Quit using excuses. Be the nerd. I'm the nerd. I'm saying I'm doing pretty good. Do the, you know, and I just and then at the end, I remember, I'll tell you one of the instances I did love. One of the tours, and when I did the introduction, I spent a lot of time talking about how cute I was, how smart I was, how fine. Child, don't let the fat fool you. They lack us fun. And I'm gonna tell you, when I was doing, I said, why am I doing this? This ain't got. But I couldn't stop doing it. And I said, shoot, you better know you the best looking. I even said, Beyonce ain't got nothing on me, right? And they laughed. I said, you better know you the best. I said, I don't care in the room. Nobody look better than you. Ain't nobody better than you. Ain't nobody finer than you. You better know it. And I was all like this, right? But I'm like, why am I doing this? This ain't got nothing. Let me get to this. But until I went through that whole little thing and I was done, then I could do it. At the end of the tour,
Wow.
the teacher said, thank you for doing that. Telling them how proud you are being a plump, beautiful, and you are cute, Dad. Now you know I be cool. She said, you are cute. And she said, but she said, we just had a conversation with these girls yesterday. They don't think they're beautiful because they don't look like what they see on television.
Wow.
Because they don't have the long hair and the, and she said, they don't love how they look. They don't love themselves. And here you are, plus size woman, telling me how cute you are. She said, and you are cute. She said, thank you for that, because they don't embrace who they are. They don't think they're good enough because they don't have the hair and the designer thing, and so they don't think they're important. And she said, and I said, doing that. I said,
Yeah.
I was wondering what doing this, because I was a child. You better act like you know. I don't care who in here. I'm the best looking thing. All due respect, Beyonce, but she ain't got this. My space right here. This me. All due respect, but she ain't got nothing on me right here. And so she said that. I said, that's why I was doing that. This. I was trying to stop and I couldn't. And she said, those girls, and they were all like kind of bubbly, and they weren't when they first came in. I mean, I that's the other thing, when I can tell the spirit of them is different when they come, because it's a different kind of energy from when they first come in. They were like, oh.
Wow.
And they were like little girls. They were like little girls again, like.
Yeah.
And then you're going up at the business. And when she told me that, she said, yeah, we just had that conversation yesterday. And
So
they don't think they're beautiful.
You mean to tell me, from creating the experience physically to having the historical background and precedent of the culture, to align it with real life practices, problems, experiences, being direct to self-correct individuals before they can insult the culture, the ancestry, and then be a motivator of the Black woman who birthed and built African Americans to create this country. Just listening to you in a nutshell and sparking the interest for people who hated history to take a deep dive to love it. Yeah. Did I get it all about right? What you do?
Yeah, I need to hire you as my marketing person, because I sound real good. Like I knew I'm bad, but hey. But yes, but you know what? And so that's why I feel like, because I know nobody else does tours like that. Nobody does it like that.
No.
Nobody does the tour like the way I do them. That's why I say it's not just me knowing the facts. It's to be used to encourage and inspire. It is a ministry. That's the only way I can explain it to you, because yes, I love history, but it's just like it just flows out of me, and everybody's like, oh, tell you like child, you get to talking and you just it's all around. And so I just feel like I just know that it's a calling. And so I think that um because it's not, I can't teach that to you, because even people ask me, and show me how to do that. And I said, well, you need to know the history. And I said, find out what your personality is. I said, when I give the information, I talk as if we're having a regular conversation. I don't give you this date, and I do give dates, but it's the experience, it's the whole thing. And especially if I know that person's information personally, I incorporate that. And I say, well, think about that. One another incident that I really love, Coach Jimmy Johnson here in Jacksonville. He's a coaching legend, athlete himself. We for Letterman at Florida A&M University, played under Jake Gaither, and the Ritz, along with the historic Black coaches, we did an exhibit on sports in Jacksonville in the Black community. Wow. And Coach Johnson was like, he was here every day. When I was working on it, he was here every day, making sure he just was like he was so excited. And one day he got to where he would drop in just to say hello, and I was giving a tour. And I had just talked about him, and then we had this exhibit. It was like a life size of him, of one of his action shots. And I was telling about Coach Johnson, and they knew they Rent the Reins. They heard him before. They knew, but they didn't know. Oh, okay. So I'm talking about him. And I look up and I said, there he go right there. And he came through the door. He was coming saying, and they went, oh, where? And they took off running. And they went, did you really? And they gathered around him, and they were like, did you really? True? Did you know? And they did that, and they was like, look, I wasn't even anywhere near close to the tour being over. Wow. But that sealed it, because I just told him who he was, how important he is, and they talked to him. They had so many great questions, and it was just, we really had to tell them, okay, it's time for y'all to leave. And I let them have that, because he sat down. He said, I came to say hello. And he said, he sat down. He sat down in the museum while I went and I came back, and he was like, he said, that was wonderful. He said, oh. Wow. He said, I just came to say hello. And he said, that was wonderful. He said, my word. He said, oh, that was, and that's amazing. And that was one of the that's one of them. And look, I had lost the kids, but he had them, and he talked to them, and he shared with them, and he said, oh, that was wonderful. He said, oh, and I said that, I have those kind of experiences all the time, and that I know the people who I talk about. Most of, I know them, and some of them are still alive. Coach Johnson is still alive, and for them to, and then he actually coached, this is the thing, Coach Johnson used to coach my dad at football.
Wow. That is amazing. So that was amazing how you can talk about a icon, pivotal, historical Black coach, and for him to physically walk in the room and knowing those children, they say, did Miss Adonnica plan this to happen? That the person that's in the picture gonna actually step out and show up. But it's just amazing how reinforcement is needed to let this generation know what was the foundation that was laid for them. Now, we know over 28 years you have been doing this. You have volunteered. You have positioned yourself in a position of a museum assistant. Now you're in the role of a museum administrator. And my final question for you, I know it's going to come to the point where your experience, your expertise, your knowledge is going to become a greater demand. So how are you going to be able to maintain what you do on a local level when your expertise will be so much demanded on the international level?
So I am working on that now because it's happening. There are opportunities coming to me, and I'm like, what? How do you even know me? Like, what? When the offer from South Africa came, Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality, they wanted me to do an exhibit. They want to partner and do an art exhibit. And I'm like, well, apparently there, and I do remember giving a tour from a group from Nelson Mandela Bay. And the mayor at the time said, "Oh, I want to do an exhibit, or would you be willing to come over and help us open exhibits over there?" And you go, "Sure." And I'll tell you, sometimes you're like, "Okay, they just talking, they don't mean that," but they actually followed through and they called and said, "Hey, we want this." And I'm like, "This
That
is
is
just," I mean, I was like,
wow.
so it is happening, and I really do have to think about how to make that transition. I think I don't think I'll ever stop dealing with the African American history here because it's so rich, so vast. There's so many things that need to be done to help preserve it further. And so I don't think that that'll ever go away. And it's the key that got me where I am. And much of Jacksonville's African American history is international history. So it's not like I'll ever just get away from it.
Right.
But now it I am thinking about how to transition that or how to repackage what I do, because opportunities are coming left and right. And I'm like, huh? And I'm not even marketing for it. So that's the other issue. It's like it's not like I'm saying, "Hey, I'm here." The opportunities are coming to me. And so um yeah, I remember when the NFL contacted me about doing a documentary on James Weller Johnson
Wow.
when they had decided to play Lift Every Voice and Sing in the first week of the last season,
Right.
and they wanted to do a documentary. And I got the phone call, and I was like, "Huh? I don't even know anybody in the NFL, but that's okay." Somebody said, "You're the one we need to talk to." And I was just an advisor on it. It was the director. He said, "No, you've been such a help. You need to be on the camera. Well, we need to have you on the camera." So I wasn't even supposed to be in the documentary. I just was a resource, which I was happy to do. And I make sure you say this, make sure you do this. And so I guess that's when they said, "Okay, we need to have her."
Yes.
And they loved it, and it was impressed. And then I have a follow-up. I had two more follow-ups to do something with them. And so I was not even I was
Looking
not thinking,
for it.
but
It
it
found
also
you.
shows you that history has so many different history is beyond this. So I am teaching. I'm just not teaching in the school system. So it's a
Exactly.
different form. So, and I think I have more freedom to say
That's
what I feel needs to be said.
right.
Um, but it's a bless. I mean, I know I'm blessed. Most people do not enjoy their job.
Right.
I mean, even when I'm tired and like I don't want to be bothered with this anymore, all I need is one little drop and it's over. Like, what? I was tired. Okay, yeah, forget that.
All right. So to conclude this amazing conversation, learning about how you got started in your journey for history, how the ancestral torch of Eartha M. White was bestowed on you riding by the dilapidated Ritz Theater on the school bus, and to be a part of the revitalization through Eartha White mission and through your volunteerism efforts and just being mindful of making sure African American history is well displayed and preserved, and to provide experiences on every tour, not a cookie cutter blueprint, but
Right.
to gain something new. You never know the exhibit you talking about, the actual individual walks through the door, which
Exactly.
will make a tour one of no other, and to motivate young women who have self-doubt about themselves or self-esteem is low, and letting them know how they matter and how they need to embrace who they are and what they do, and not just being in. So it's not the building, It's
Right.
the ancestral foundational roots of the people who labor, the people
Mm-hmm.
who have, fought to position to make sure our story is told, because we are not in the textbooks.
We're not.
We're being whitewashed for our contributions. So it's not just a political fight or an injustice fight, but it's even a heritage fight
Mm-hmm.
for us to continue to not just educate but advocate for
Mm-hmm.
our historical stories to be told. So with the Ritz Theater, not just sponsorship and tours, I know they do putting on the Ritz Theater auditions. You have Ritz Voices. You're able to rent out the museum. There's a plethora of things that the Ritz Museum Theater does, and I have been there. I've been to several events. But ladies and gentlemen, listeners who's listening and viewers that be watching, the most best value asset at the Ritz Theater Museum in Jacksonville, Florida is this young lady right here, Adonnica L. Toler,
Museum.
because she makes sure not only you seeing it, you hearing it, but you actually is experiencing it, where you can actually put yourself in the position, in the role of the person that she's explaining to you about. And for her to have the international opportunities with the Nelson Mandela Principalities and many, many more, the next interview we have, hopefully soon, where we actually walk through and attend one of her tours. So you all can experience it virtually as I get it real time. So Adonnica, I just want to thank you so much for all you have done. Thank you for taking an interest sparked by some of your family members, from Bill Cosby presentations, for your thesis in the Eartha M. White. If you wouldn't have had those 3 nuggets dropped in your lap, Jacksonville, Florida, African American community would not have the voice that it does and stay relevant like it do because of you. And for that,
Oh, thank you so much.
I want to say thank you, my
Thank you, thank you, thank you for that. And it has been an honor, and I do see it as an honor and a privilege to, excuse me, share these stories, to talk about Coach Johnson and his impact, which goes beyond the stats on the field, because just the mentorship. So to really show who we really are as a people, and we have those challenges, but for the most part, we are still a great people. We are still contributing. That mama that's doing the best she can to get those kids, and they're still, it's all of it. And it's and I'm very glad that I accepted the call, because I do feel that this is a call, and I enjoy it. And with all the challenges, I just don't see myself doing anything else. I mean, it has to be history, and the history is that foundation. And I think I believe that there's other great things, and there's other avenues that this is going to sprout from. But thank you for
welcome.
even asking me to be on your platform and being such a cheerleader. Man, she made me sound real good, really good.
But
I'm gonna have to.
you a mess.
I'm gonna have to hire you as my marketing person, because, honey, I'm telling you, I need to. I'm like, woo. No, I know who you're talking about. I ain't gonna act like who you're talking about. But since you said, let me. That's right. Speak it, honey.
Yes.
That's right.
But your work have proven that, and that's what makes it even the more, because every time we talk and have these interviews, I'm learning, I'm taking something away new each time. And it's making me want to learn more about our Black business ownership in Jacksonville, Florida, and making me want to be that add that additional cultural arm to my services as a business owner. Okay, who was the business owners before me in my community, and what challenges did they face? What collaborations did they have to make? Which, as we talked about before, what code switching that they had to do to position themselves to not stay behind, but to get ahead. So what I want to say and encourage, I hope our listeners and our viewers have been inspired and why it's even more important. We need to shatter the silos that separates us and find the unification that unite us, so we can help the next generation of children understand you are not an issue of society. You are not the problem. Your legacy, your ancestral legacy, requires you to be so much more. And to
Requires you to be great.
yes, and to that we conclude this amazing interview. This is not the last of Adonnica Toler, but I wanted us to learn more about her role, because when people hear historians or African American study professors and those individuals that's constantly called upon to speak to issues concerning critical race theory or issues pertaining to African American community and the social unrest, these individuals have done the due diligence, such as Adonnica. They have done the homework in our communities and in how it compares to other groups. So we need to value them and embrace them and learn from them. So parents, grandparents, godparents, churches, community organizations, you need to start crafting field trips to include African American museums, especially or if you're dealing with children of color, because they need to understand it is not everything they see and hear about on TV, on the news, or in the movie. It is real where they live. And to that, this has been Courageous Conversations, Culture Life, interviewing the notorious Adonnica L. Toler, our international African-American historian, critical race theory expert, museum assistant to museum administrator extraordinaire. If you want to learn more, connect with her on richjacksonville.com on the website, schedule a tour, and experience Adonnica for yourself. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned and connected. Thank you, Adonnica.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Courageous Conversation with Teresa W. Gamble. Courageous Conversation is powered by Carcier Resource Professional Consultant. Would you like to be a guest and have your story, lesson, and best practice to be captured in an audio cyclopedia? We are currently reviewing applications for future guests to join us, and we're especially interested in creating spaces for long-standing or multi-generational Black-owned businesses. For more information and to be considered, please email info@crpcnow.com to request an application. Be not weary in well-doing. You shall reap if you faint not. Galatians 6:9.